A man boards a plane with a briefcase. Hours later, he walks away with $200,000 and disappears into the night. More than 50 years later, no one knows who he was. On the evening of November 24th, 1971, Northwest Orient Airlines Flight 305 prepared for its short hop from Portland to Seattle. The Boeing 727 sat on the tarmac, engines humming, as passengers filed aboard in the fading light. Among them was a man dressed in a dark suit and black overcoat. He moved with quiet purpose, carrying a slim briefcase and a ticket made out to the name Dan Cooper. He settled into seat 18C, just behind the wing. The crew, Captain Robert Freeman, First Officer William Hughes, Flight Engineer Jack Lawfer, and flight attendants Catherine Stewart, Carolyn Miller, and Suzanne Rogers, were all seasoned. Their routines practiced and efficient. Nothing about Cooper drew attention at first. He ordered a bourbon and soda, paid in cash, and waited. As the aircraft climbed into the clouds, Cooper caught the eye of flight attendant Catherine Stewart and handed her a folded note. She tucked it away, assuming another business traveler had slipped her a phone number. Cooper leaned closer and spoke in a low, steady voice. "Miss, you'd better read that note. I have a bomb." Stewart read the message, her hands trembling. The note was written in block capitals. It said, "I have a bomb. I want $200,000. Give me the money, 4 parachutes, and a one-way radio. If you try to call the police, I will detonate." She looked up. Cooper's expression never changed. Calm, polite, almost detached. In that instant, the ordinary became unthinkable. The cabin, filled moments before with the soft noise of conversation and the clink of ice in glasses, seemed to shrink around the man in 18C. The crew gathered in the galley, exchanging quick, nervous glances. The flight was no longer routine. Something had crossed the threshold into the unknown. Catherine Stewart steadied herself and returned to Cooper's row. He opened his briefcase just enough for her to glimpse a tangle of red cylinders and wires. The message was clear. This was not a bluff. She relayed the demands to the cockpit. Captain Freeman radioed the tower with a code word for hijacking. Instantly, the routine flight became a high-stakes negotiation. Cooper's instructions were precise. $200,000 in used $20 bills. 4 parachutes, 2 main and 2 reserve. A fuel truck waiting in Seattle. No tricks, no police, or everyone on board would pay the price. The crew passed his demands to ground control, their voices tight. Northwest Orient scrambled to gather the cash. FBI agents rushed to local parachute clubs, collecting whatever gear they could find. The 727 circled above Seattle for hours, burning fuel as the city below braced for the unknown. Passengers, still unaware of the danger, grew restless. Flight attendants moved quietly through the cabin, keeping up the illusion of normalcy. On the ground, authorities debated how to deliver the ransom without risking a disaster. At 5:39 p.m., the plane touched down at Seattle-Tacoma International Airport. The windows were shuttered, the cabin lights dim. An airline manager approached the rear stairway with a duffel bag stuffed with cash and 4 parachutes. Cooper let the passengers go, one by one, into the rain-soaked night. Only the crew remained. The money and parachutes changed hands, silent and tense. With his demands met, Cooper ordered the pilots to chart a course south toward Mexico City. Low and slow, rear stairs unlocked. The aircraft lifted off once more, swallowed by darkness, carrying a man who was about to vanish from history. The Boeing 727 was unlike any other passenger jet in the sky that night. Its most unusual feature, a rear air stair, was tucked beneath the tail, hidden from view until needed. On most flights, the stair dropped to the tarmac only after landing. But this aircraft's design allowed the stair to be lowered in flight, a fact known only to pilots, engineers, and a handful of insiders. Cooper's instructions were exact. Maintain 10,000 feet, slow the plane to 170 miles per hour, and keep the landing gear down. These weren't random numbers. At that altitude and speed, the air stair could be safely deployed without tearing loose or destabilizing the aircraft. Boeing's own manuals confirmed it. The rear stair could extend its speeds up to 250 miles per hour, though the recommended maximum for a smooth operation was lower. The hydraulic system took about 12 seconds to cycle the stair from closed to fully open. Pilots later described the sensation as a shudder running through the airframe, a warning that something highly unusual was happening at the tail. In the cockpit, flight engineer Jack Lawfer monitored the hydraulic pressure, watching for any sign of a malfunction. The crew understood the risk. An open stair at altitude created drag, turbulence, and a deafening roar in the cabin. But the 727 structure was strong enough to withstand the forces. Cooper knew exactly what he was asking for. With the aircraft trimmed for stability and the air stair unlocked, the path to the void behind the plane was clear. The open stairway, suspended above the darkness, became the gateway to an escape no one had ever attempted before. Cold air rushed through the open stairwell, swallowing every sound but the shriek of wind. Beyond the tail, only blackness. No city lights, no moon. Just the endless dark over Southwest Washington. The aircraft held steady at 10,000 feet, skimming the upper edge of a low cloud deck. Gusts rattled the fuselage. Rain streaked sideways past the open door, vanishing into the void below. On the ground, the landscape was unforgiving. Dense forest stretched for miles, broken by rivers, ravines, and the jagged rise of the Cascade foothills. Meteorological logs from that night record freezing temperatures and winds gusting up to 20 miles per hour. Visibility dropped to less than a mile. The terrain beneath the flight path was a patchwork of pine, mud, and snow. No lights, no clearings, nothing to guide a descent. Inside the cabin, the crew waited, eyes fixed on their instruments. Then, at 8:13 p.m., a sudden change. The rear stair indicator flickered and the pressure gauge dropped. In the cockpit, a warning light confirmed what they already sensed. The last trace of the hijacker, a jolt, a thud, and then silence. When the crew finally dared to look, the rear stairs hung open, swinging in the wind. Seat 18C was empty. The man called Dan Cooper was gone, swallowed by the night and the wilderness below. For the first time, the plane carried only questions. The search for D.B. Cooper became one of the most exhaustive manhunts in FBI history. Within hours of the hijacking, the Bureau formed the NORJAK Task Force. Drawing in agents from Seattle, Portland, and beyond, they tracked every serial number from the ransom $20 bills, each logged in a master list and distributed to banks, casinos, racetracks, and retailers across the country. Leads poured in by the hundreds. Ex-paratroopers, disgruntled airline workers, career criminals. The suspect list swelled, then narrowed, as alibis checked out and fingerprints failed to match. Agents combed the forests and riverbanks beneath the flight path, searching for any trace of a parachute, clothing, or the man himself. Nothing surfaced. The only hard evidence came 9 years later, when a teenage boy named Brian Phillips unearthed $5,800 in decaying bills along the Columbia River. The serial numbers matched Cooper's ransom exactly. The discovery confirmed that at least part of the money had made it to the ground, but offered no answers about Cooper's fate. Decades of investigation produced thousands of pages of reports, but every clue led to another dead end. The trail faded into shadows, leaving only the legend behind. No single explanation has ever satisfied the questions left behind by D.B. Cooper's disappearance. Evidence divides into three competing stories, each with its own logic and its own blind spots. Some believe Cooper survived the jump and vanished into a new life. The riverbank money, found nearly a decade later, feeds the legend. Perhaps he escaped, scattering bills as a decoy, or lost them in the descent, only to slip away into obscurity. Others argue the jump was a death sentence. The freezing night, the dense forests, the impossible terrain, all point to a man who never made it out of the wilderness. The lack of remains, the silence of the woods, suggest a body lost to time and weather, with the money washing downstream as the only trace. Then there are those who see the hand of a professional. Cooper's calm, his precise instructions, and his knowledge of the 727's rear stair hint at insider expertise. Someone who understood both planes and parachutes, and who planned every detail. Yet, after decades, no suspect has ever fit all the facts. As one historian put it, every answer opens another door. The truth, if it exists, remains just out of reach, hidden somewhere between the river, the sky, and the shadows of memory. Tonight, the trail runs cold. Just fragments of ransom bills, a vanished man, and a mystery that deepens with each passing year. In a world wired for surveillance, his shadow still haunts the skies. Some legends fade. This one endures, the greatest unsolved mystery in aviation history.